Welcome to another episode of Love Crossing Borders Travel Unraveled Edition. If you have ever been in a situation where you moved to another city, got your life on track, doing some amazing things, and yet you got family members back home in your home state begging you for money, you can understand this video that we're about to watch. We're going to hear from one of our African brothers in regards to the frustration that he's had, not with traveling back home to his home country of Africa, but unraveling his travel experiences since he's been there in the United States. But before we get started, my name is Andre of Travel Unraveled, Love Crossing Borders Edition. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, click that like button. We like you. Make sure you like us too. Let's get started. This is going to be a good one. All right, let's listen up to what our brother has to say in regards to the severity of his experience with himself, his family, his new country, and how people, no matter where you travel, will try to use you if you let them.
It is quite obvious that a lot of people back in Africa think that this economic crisis, inflation, and the hardship that has hit the world in general, it's only resonating in Africa. No, we are also feeling the heat here in America. I'm going to tell you this. For the past few months, Ukraine and Russia has been in battlefield fighting war. America economy has been hit so bad. People here are scrambling to survive financially. I know of people who have been out of job 3-4 months. And these are people who got family, wife and children. And the little they have to squeeze it to survive.
Now, based off of what America propaganda, the system has sold to the rest of the world, Americans don't have hard times. I'll say that again. One of the biggest problems that we have in America is that we do not want the world to know our dirty laundry of the fact that we go through economic pressures as well, that we have to rob Peter to pay Paul some days as well, that there is unemployment in our neighborhoods, in our communities, no matter where you go, from the upper echelon to the middle class to the lower class. They've already said that the highest rate of individuals that are becoming Walmart customers are millionaires. They've already said that 1/3 of all individuals that make over $250,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. They've already made the statement, like I always say, 57% of you don't even have $1,000 emergency fund right now, even as I speak. Times are tight, but we try to pretend that it's not when we know that it is. So when individuals such as himself, as well as his family, see the United States, as well as all those Venezuelans and other individuals that are coming to the United States, they come with the assumption that United States, you automatically have money.
At least 5 buses of migrants pulled into Chicago over the weekend. More than 8,600 migrants are staying in the city's shelters, and at least 59% of them are Venezuelan, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. Since 2014, 7 million people have fled the country. That's roughly 20% of its population. 6 million of the refugees have made their homes in other Latin American or Caribbean countries. But an increasing number of migrants are choosing to make the dangerous 2,000-mile journey to the United States. In 2021, Customs and Border Protection encountered 50,000 Venezuelan migrants. This year, that number is over 250,000. For more, let's bring in CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez. Camilo, you encouraged our colleagues to look at Venezuela as a way of understanding what's happening at the border. Why did you do that?
Well, good evening, John. I think it has been overlooked that there is this historic displacement and refugee crisis here in the Western Hemisphere, in our region, in Latin America. As you mentioned and underscored, over 7 million Venezuelans have fled the economic collapse and authoritarian policies in Venezuela in recent years. That is not just the largest refugee crisis ever recorded in the Western Hemisphere, but it's now surpassed the refugee exodus from Syria and Ukraine. These are two countries with active war zones. So just think about that. about how large scale this refugee crisis, John, is. Before, most Venezuelans were settling in countries like Colombia and other places in South America like Peru and Chile, but increasingly they are journeying here to the U.S.-Mexico border. In August, 22,000 Venezuelans entered Border Patrol custody. Now we're seeing 2,000 Venezuelans cross the U.S.-Mexico border each day. That's according to federal data obtained by CBS News. And tens of thousands of additional Venezuelans are on their way to the U.S. 63,000 of them crossed the notorious Darien jungle in Panama on their way to the U.S. in August alone, and those numbers are expected to continue climbing. And right now, the policy solutions and options for the administration and really any government are limited. The U.S. right now cannot deport Venezuelans to that country because the government there has a strained diplomatic relations with the U.S. Mexico only accepts a limited number of Venezuelans. And lastly, John, Colombia so far has been unwilling to stop the flow into the Darien Gap.
And we all know as American citizens that is not always true, because you can have 10,000 in your bank account and yet you've got 12,000 worth of bills.
Some of these people have friends and family, church member, colleague, relations back in Africa who feel that they are so entitled that these people should be sending them financial assistance. And when these people are not able to meet this financial assistance, when these people come from Africa and say, oh please, I need money, and they say, oh I'm sorry, I'm not in the position to assist you now, they get mad. They don't want to talk to you anymore. They don't even want to call you to ask you how are you doing, how you survive. They don't give a damn how you survive in America. The fact is that you are in America.
It's the exact same thing if you move from one state to another state. Little does he know that many of us who are in America, when we left the broken areas in which we were raised and we have family members still there, quite often, many of us get phone calls from loved ones saying, can you send me this? Do you have money for that? Can I borrow this? We go through the exact same thing. But the sad part is, it's not just America, the system, but also Americans. We sell this image that we don't want anybody to know that we're going through financial strains. It's little things that he is coming to the reality of when it comes to America. And as you listen to him more and more when it comes to how people are treating him when he doesn't send money, because now he realized how expensive it is to live in one of the top 10 most expensive countries in the world, it's frustrating to him based on the fact that family members are no longer talking to him because he's not sending money, and the fact that he's trying to get them to understand the reason why he can't send the money. And so it is with many of us in the United States.
Because you're in America, you're in London, you're in Europe, does not necessarily mean you are making money. Don't get this to your head, some of you. It's so annoying. It pisses me off when people feel so entitled. Like someone bless you with his hard-earned money. Even to say thank you is difficult. And you want to keep coming back to ask for more. And when that person says, I'm sorry, I cannot financially assist you at this time, then you get mad. You feel entitled. No matter how related you are to that person, it could be your blood brother, cousin, church member, whatever. I don't give a fuck about that. Back off. Let them breathe.
He's absolutely correct. This is the situation around the world when it comes to individuals that travel to the United States and they decide to start a new life. A lot of individuals are losing family members because the family members are either upset with them, jealous or envy of them, or just think that this person must think that they're better than us because they're not sending money, not realizing that the average person in the United States is just living day to day, paycheck to paycheck. Yes, there are a lot of success stories in the United States. Yes, it is the land of opportunity. Yes, you can pull yourself up by your bootstrap, roll up your sleeves, and accomplish many goals in the United States. But that's not the norm. we realize that the average person in the United States is still struggling. And this brother is trying to get others in his home country to realize it's not that I don't love you and care about you. It's just that I don't have the money like that, because the United States is a lot more expensive than people who don't live in the United States or weren't raised in the United States tend to understand until they finally come to the United States and realize it is not the land of milk and honey. It is the land of get your ass to work.
People are struggling in America. People are not plucking money from the trees. People are not picking money in the streets. We work for money. It's hard. It's hard. The inflation is everywhere. The grocery store food are expensive. I used to fill the tank in my car for $45. Now I fill it for $85. Inflation is everywhere. There is no job anywhere. The place is so packed off. The other day, I took someone somewhere for interview. They called it an open interview. They only need 6 people. You see, there were more than 100 people there. And do you know the most people that are there? Nigerians. I saw people sitting on the floor in the sun, trying to get job. On the queue, the line is so long. These people only hire 6 people. This they call job fair. These men and women were sitting on the floor because there was no place. The whole place was so jam-packed. It was jam-packed because the company said the job fair starts at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Do you know that people were already there by 7 a.m.? I took this guy, we left his place around 7:30. But before, people were already there waiting. When I look at these people, my Nigerian people sitting on the floor, speaking Yoruba, speaking different language, trying to get job, then my mind went to how some people back in Nigeria and Africa feel entitled that because these people in America, they should send money to them.
He's making an excellent point by using an example. It's the same thing for white-collar workers. If you are a white-collar worker in the United States, you've been to job fairs where there are hundreds upon hundreds of people vying for maybe 20 to maybe 50 jobs that are available, yet a couple thousand people end up showing up for the job fair, even though we're all in suits and all of us have our resumes, many of us have our briefcases, we're all looking good, but at the same time, we're doing the same thing that this brother's saying that the Nigerian brothers are doing when it comes to looking for employment.
When you don't send them money, they want to keep you malice. They don't want to greet you again. They say, I just want to believe I don't have nobody in America. They will give a fuck if you don't want to care for anybody. You have somebody in America. People are struggling. Go work for your own money. If they bless you with their money, thank them. Don't feel entitled. Come on, man.
As I mentioned, this is a good one because at the end of the day, you owe nobody anything. I know a lot of times we support our families, like our moms or our dads back home. You may have kids back home or family members or even some cool friends that you make sure that you look out for back home. But you don't owe anyone but yourself when it comes to this life. Make sure that you look out for you first. It's just like when you're on the airline and they tell you when the masks drop down, make sure you put your mask on first in order to help anybody else around you. So it is now. The economy is tight. You have so many immigrants that are traveling from Venezuela all the way through Colombia, all the way through Panama, up to Mexico, going into the American borders. Times are going to get tight because you've got over 2-3 million people coming into the United States right now, even as we speak.
So help me understand, Camilo, the difference with Venezuelans. The government has enacted temporary protected status and not asylum. Help me understand the distinction between those two.
That's a critical question, John. For those who don't know, asylum cannot be granted on a blanket basis to a large class of people. It is adjudicated on an individual or family basis. TPS, on the other hand, temporary protective status, can be granted to hundreds of thousands of people, like the Biden administration just did, if their home countries are experiencing a humanitarian crisis. Additionally, asylum is for those who are fleeing persecution because of certain factors like their religion, political views, or their race. Many Venezuelans would not qualify for asylum because poverty and economic hardship, no matter how extreme, are not grounds for asylum, John. So that's why the Biden administration has extended TPS for nearly 500,000 Venezuelans in the U.S. However, that does not benefit new arrivals. It only benefits those who arrived in the U.S. before July 31st.
And as taxpayers, not only because of inflation, but because of the immigrants that are coming in, you are going to be paying for every meal, every opportunity that these individuals have when they enter into the United States. So be prepared for that. In other words, what I'm saying is times are tight. I'm up out of here, guys, and I'm going to see you in the next video.